I'm Emma,
Hi, I'm Marissa.
and this is our presentation on Library 2.0 for teens. We're covering the part about the space and the programs.
Former president of the Public Library Association, Sari Feldman, would joke that from the time people get their driver's license until their first baby, the library doesn't see them.
Technology has changed that, both by making the library more attractive and by letting staff spend less time on routine tasks and more time on customer service.
Teens need a separate space where they can browse, study, and hang out without feeling they're being too observed.
Teens need computers, study areas, and a collection that meets their needs.
Teens need to be reached out to in physical and virtual spaces. We need to find them where they are.
Now we're going to talk about the elements of a great space. We visited a lot of libraries around Chicagoland while doing this project, and we found some spaces that really work, and some spaces that kind of work, and some spaces that are pretty much non-existent.
First, we're going to talk about comfortable seating. Teenagers are kind of a casual client, if you will, so it's important to have places where they feel comfortable sitting, sprawling out, laying around. It's important that your space has those areas marked so they feel comfortable doing so.
And egg chairs.
Egg chairs, pretty popular.
They also need a space that is pretty private. They need to feel that they can make a certain amount of noise and that they're not being too observed. Now, this space obviously needs to be not completely blocked off to everything so somebody can monitor what's going on, but libraries that have spaces that are just for the teens to be have more teens that hang out there.
The big problem with having a book in a walkthrough, even though it looks really pretty, is that anyone can kind of look over the shoulder at what kids are reading, and that can be very uncomfortable if you're reading books about boys meeting boys or books about how to deal with eating disorders. So you need to be sensitive about teenage feelings of privacy when you set up these kinds of hallways and bookshelves.
And that walkthrough goes directly to the children's department. So while you're looking at these books, there are families with children walking right behind you. How embarrassing. Another problem is that there are a lot of libraries that don't have the YA librarian at a desk. They don't even have a desk space or a computer space for the young adult librarian to be there. They're either at the children's desk or they're over at Adult Readers Advisory, just inaccessible to the kids.
We're looking at the Lincoln Belmont branch of the Chicago Public Library. Basically, I went in to talk to the librarian, and they have a really great children's section, but the actual young adult books are kind of like in their own little private island, floating without a reference desk for either adult or children's. So this was kind of if you wanted to come talk about any kind of problem, this is what you saw. Not very inviting. No desk, no librarian is unfortunately something you see at quite a few libraries, like at Skokie and Northbrook, which are both libraries that have young adult librarians meant to talk to kids about, YA issues and readers advisory issues. But unfortunately, they don't have a place for kids to come to that's well marked.
So both of us ended up visiting Skokie Public Library, but neither of us could locate the librarians successfully.
It was actually much easier to locate the librarian through Ask a Librarian on their website.
Yeah, so we IM'd the librarian while we were working on this putting together these slides, and they were very evasive answering our questions. We were like, well, but where do teens go when they want answers? And they just basically said, well, they can go to the reference desk. I'm like, but what if they want to talk to a young adult librarian? And they just were not answering our question because there wasn't a good answer to it.
This is another picture of the Lincoln Belmont branch of Chicago Public Library. As you can see by the teen volume, that's how you know that's where your books are, also by the spine stickers. But basically there's no great signage, there's absolutely no comfortable seating, and really no comfortable presence here. It's a problem that we call the problem with non-presence. You get the feeling that the books here are just an afterthought and that you, the patron, are a total afterthought.
On the cooler side of things, we visited U Media, and Kirsten visited the Gail Borden Public Library, and we took some cool pictures of their walls to write on. The cyber navigators at U Media told us that kids are going to be destructive. They're going to want to write on walls. Let's give them a place where they can actually do that. And those are digital frames but the white of the tree can be written on. And then that's a big whiteboard wall that kids can write on Gailboard. And for some reason, kids and teenagers really like writing on boards. We don't get it.
I think it's a great way to express yourself. Like, you can leave your mark somewhere, literally, and be encouraged to do so.
Yeah.
This is the no-tech posting areas. Gailboard had one of these, and also UMedia. It's basically physical space where you can post a flyer or write something down to let other people know, like an old-school whiteboard.
So when they go to the website, they sometimes don't see the promotions for the events, was what they told us at UMedia, because there's just so much noise. And this gives them a place to just see it a different way. Welcoming signage, we've talked about that being important for adults too. But with teens, you know, they'll leave. Adults will be angry, but teens, they'll leave and not come back if they feel they're being condescended to.
When you think about it, a sign is really an opportunity to create positive, friendly space. So if you're in a place where everyone respects each other, write it down on your sign, but do it in language that's positive and inviting. We thought these were good examples of signs that use humor and simple, clear language, and also letting kids know they can eat. It's really important because teenagers are growing. You don't want a grouchy teenager.
Also, at UMedia, they told us that if they leave to get food, you'll never see them again. So letting them eat there is a good thing.
Yeah.
Exclusive use of the space. This is the sign outside of the loft at Evanston Public Library stating that people can come in and get the books. The space is locked when it's school time, but kids can... but grown-ups can come in and get books, but they can't stay. This space is for the teens, and that's a really good thing. The library, some of the library spaces, one of the problems they have is if they buy a bunch of laptops, they're not always usable for the teen boy fingers. And if you don't have computers that kids can use to do the things that they want, they're not going to come. So when buying computers, make sure you've bought enough and make sure you've bought the right kind, the kind that the kids are going to want to come and use. We've been talking a lot about UMedia without giving a lot of context. UMedia is the new MacArthur Grant teen space in the downtown Chicago Public Library space. It's really cool. It's based on the concept that the 3 levels of engagement of technology are hanging out, messing around, and geeking out. Hanging out is a space where they can eat, read. That's where all the books are. There's a piano over there, like an electric piano over there too. The second space, messing around, there are computers, there are cameras, there are digital like video cameras, and there's all kinds of things that they can play with. This is geeking out. This is the classroom space.
It's at the end of the space, which is pretty big and cavernous, so you're going to have the most privacy here. And it's really cool how they let kids kind of come and go. Like, if you're late, it doesn't matter. You're still welcome to sit in and listen and participate. They've got, like, the smart boards, whiteboards, things of that nature. You really don't even have to register because classes are for everybody here. Also, mentors hold classes here.
Another important thing that UMedia does right, Gailboard does right, Evanston does right, is space to spread out. Tables that can be moved around, places for collaboration, places that kids can put all their books all around them and get some stuff done.
It's kind of a subtle way for kids to feel ownership because they can rearrange furniture and make it their own space, literally their own space. So the more movable the furniture, the better.